How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Hyenas Den. We have Bradley Kerwin and Garcia here.
Sir.
Welcome back. So, what are we doing today?
So we are going to be doing a face-off. No John Travolta here. That was a terrible movie, by the way.
I didn't think it was too bad.
Nicolas Cage. John Travolta.
Face Off was a fantastic movie. And then it was referenced.
It was enjoyable. It doesn't mean it was good.
It was referenced in Spy with, what was that actress, the comedian? Fat one.
Oh.
Larger one.
Melissa McCarthy?
Yeah.
There you go. So we're going to be doing a face-off today of two very American beers. So we have our initial beer here, which is Fat Tire, born in Colorado, by a company called New Belgium. Shame on you, sir. For shame. That one was for the homies.
Yeah, that was definitely for, because of World War II. All soldiers. Service and all that.
But yeah, so it's a company called New Belgium, born in Colorado. Say it's hard to think of anything as American as Colorado.
And it's one of the top rated, right?
So amongst...
If we knock off Budweiser, because Budweiser is now a Brazilian-owned company, which was number one.
Yeah. And how recent was that? 3-4 years ago?
Yeah, just about 3 years ago.
Okay. But yeah, so going down the list of the top 10 American beers, rating-wise, by popularity, not necessarily taste or what have you.
Yeah, as most bought.
Right. So up at the top, Miller, Coors, PBR, and what's the other one I'm thinking of? Can't remember. Budweiser. There we go.
No, Budweiser was number one.
Well, I didn't go in order, but amongst the top four.
Yeah.
But we picked two that of course we've had these beers before, but that we thought were a little better in quality, and are a known quantity to us because we've had them before. We know that they're good and that they'll make a strong contender.
We're going against the German dessert beer.
Yes. So essentially, what's going to end up happening here is we will have a head-to-head confrontation with the American beer versus the German beer.
And it might not necessarily be these two beers because we've had quite a few American beers.
True. But that's kind of our idea in that these beers are America. So this is a strong possibility to go against the German beer.
And they're going to be going against, they go with the video today that we're doing, which is World War II, America's contribution in. And since we're Americans,
we're only 3 weeks away from July 4th, you guys. 4th of July.
So we're going to spend the entirety of this video on America with American beers. So
woo! America!
Let's go.
So Fat Tire, just to give you some of the specs on it. 5.2% alcohol by volume. So good. So 5.2% ABV.
Amber Ale.
So this is a
company.
It's about average for your standard lager or your standard beers, which fall between a range of 3.5 to at maximum 5.5. So you have about a 2% alcohol by volume range.
Yeah, that's
whenever it comes to your average.
On average, the liquor stores.
Right.
Yeah.
So in addition to that, it's considered it's an American amber ale or American amber or a red ale. So that's kind of the thing
you can tell by the color.
Yeah. So you can look by the consistency of the beer itself. It's a dark honey color.
It's a bit thicker, not as see-through as your lighter beers.
Like a Miller or something, where it's just it's essentially it's water. What's the so there's a. I know that it's older than that, but the first place that I'd ever heard the joke was during a Monty Python stage show. Was what do you call how is having sex in a canoe like American beer? It's fucking close to water.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, this was I wouldn't say it's close to water though.
No. But I'm saying that general average, that Miller, the Coors, the Budweiser, the PBR.
The top contender, top sellers, top rated.
Because they're the most easily guzzled.
Did we get our ratings from
Beer? I know. I got so excited. Beer Advocate.
So we got our ratings from Beer Advocate again?
Yeah, so for this website, they had...
we didn't choose from Beer Advocate for our beers today, but we get our ratings from Beer Advocate, which is beeradvocate.com.
Yep. So for both of these beers,
not sponsored.
Boy, wouldn't that be cool?
That'd be good.
But they had over 2,000 reviews, specifically, which means written reviews, and 9,000 ratings, which means that somebody just gave it a rating without a subsequent following review.
Yeah.
But Fat Tire is good. I like it.
Which
so again,
we think should be higher. So if you're watching this, you drink a Fat Tire. It definitely should be knocking out the top selling beers, which is again Budweiser, Miller, Coors, and
absolutely. Well, so here's kind of the thing
PBR.
too.
Well, maybe not PBR. PBR should be number one. So get on there, upvote PBR. Budweiser should no longer be contending for American beers because it's a Brazilian-owned company.
They just market it as an American beer.
Yeah. Which I don't like because their marketing campaign immediately after they bought the company was to put America on. No, the Budweiser was replaced with America. The can said
it's
America
clever
on
from
it.
a marketing standpoint.
Oh yeah, and that upped their sales and kept the fucking user basis. Also suppressed the news of them being sold to a Brazilian company.
I believe it.
Which is
I
great
remembered
marketing.
it, to be honest.
Yeah, which is great marketing. But unless you're, such as myself, I love country or products made by my country. I kind of stopped buying the beer because it's no longer an American beer. Which I have nothing against the Brazilian company. I don't believe they changed anything about the
I'm not a fan of their product, but to be fair, I wasn't a fan of their
beer.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of their product before or after. So.
I try to buy American products. Not all my products are clearly American. I obviously buy whatever's good. But on my tools that I work with, I buy American. So,
So are all mine.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll take PBR over cheap beers. I'm going to take PBR over I take Budweiser because Budweiser is no longer an American
Milwaukee.
product.
My tools. So like, that's pretty good.
DeWalt.
Yeah.
But I mean, all our parts are made in Taiwan or China or some bullshit
Anheuser-Busch
like that.
Milwaukee. Anywho.
Well, they could have just sold that part of the company.
Yeah, no. Just from like the aroma, the taste of it, it's a slightly sweet malty flavor. Yeah, it's a little dry bitterness to it a little bit. It smells good. It smells sweet, kind of caramelly. I dig it. But that's kind of the thing too, though, is that
It's a bit apple cidery. It's a malty apple cider taste.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because it's sweet.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying, is that if you're going for more of a nail down, it's a fruity sweet, not just like a candy sweet, like the German beer was sweet, but that was
for a different reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this would be more of a fruity sweet, like a nectar.
But here's kind of the thing, though. Whereas those big four are ubiquitous, common, everywhere type of beers.
Yeah.
They're mass produced. Fat Tire was actually one of the first microbrews to make it big. Big. Obviously.
When you say first microbrews, you mean in first 100, thousands, 100?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So New Belgium was a small company in Colorado.
Yeah.
So much like Bear Republic.
Bear Republic.
Yeah.
Make beer not bombs. Still using your glasses.
Yeah. Or any of these places that are kind of, catering to their local area. But it did so well, it was so positively received that you can find Fat Tire on tap damn near anywhere. You can find it, I want to say it's at Disneyland. So, I know they have a lot of Carl Strauss there, but I also want to say that they have New Belgium.
I don't believe they have New Belgium there.
Maybe they don't. But I'm saying it wouldn't surprise me if it was.
Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising me if it would. I do know that they do have local breweries at Disneyland, or not Disneyland, but California Adventures.
Yeah,
They
and
don't
downtown
sell-
Disney now.
Oh, and downtown Disney, they now serve alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I believe that's another Carl Strauss.
Hashtag Disney.
Yeah, there you go. So it's a good beer. I enjoy it quite a bit.
It's great. It's refreshing.
It's
I don't think
it's another.
I wouldn't have this during a barbecue. Hangout definitely.
If
Barbecue,
you were,
no.
if you weren't the one barbecuing,
This is more of a snack beer, I think. Like
or maybe you just walked into the house and
game
grabbed one.
nights. Yeah, game
Yeah.
nights. Hangouts. Lunch.
This is a hangout inside beer.
Yeah, this is
Maybe
not
not
a
but this is
barbecue.
at most a front porch beer.
Yeah.
But this isn't a. I'm gonna go to the beach and bring a bunch of these.
Mm-hmm.
Only reason being is that because it is malty.
It's heavier.
It's heavier.
It's a heavier on your stomach beer.
Yeah.
But it won't make you gassy. It's a heavy beer. You'll definitely feel it in your stomach, but it's not going to make you burp or anything. As you can tell, it doesn't
Carbonation's
have
not crazy.
heavy carbonation. It's very, very light carbonation. The bubbles are damn near minuscule, but you can still taste that it's not a flat beer.
Yes. It's true though. There is almost nothing on planet Earth that is worse than a flat, warm beer.
Boop. Moving on
Yeah.
from there, we're going on to, like we said, World War II, America's contribution during World War II. We were a part of World War II during the beginning of the war, but that was...
About 2 years after its beginning. So again,
we started with the Lend-Lease Act.
2 years afterward.
Yeah.
So here's the what I think is the crazy part. The U.S. at that time was in very much an isolationist mode, and I understand why. After World War I, the casualties inflicted, the people coming home, the
Morale of the people.
absolutely devastated. So at that point, we said, you know what? Screw this. Everyone's going to fend for themselves for a while. We need to do our own thing. Either they make it against this asshole Hitler, or they don't. And of course, there's always it's always a toss-up because there were plenty of those who were like, no, fuck that, let's get into it.
Well, it was also all of Europe versus Germany and Japan. This is before the Soviet Union got in. Oh, so it was Italy.
Italy kind of flip-flops.
It was Italy in the beginning, Germany and Japan.
Yeah.
And you figure 3 relatively small nations versus Europe. Would you jump in? I mean, come on, that's 3 small nations.
Nobody would have thought for a moment
Yeah.
that
They would have
because
monkey
bear in mind
stomped
too.
the shit in of, the Europes. I mean, Great Britain.
Europeans.
I mean,
But
what do you
it-
have? Britannia. You have Britannia.
They were still an empire at this time. It wasn't until after the cessation of World War II, after VE Day, that
Britain
they
just
started
kinda collapsed
giving
to
up.
Britain,
It wasn't so much a collapse, but they were starting to give up their hold on colonies.
which would be
um,
a
Their
collapse
head-
of their nation.
it was a
collapse of the empire. They
Sure.
were giving away chunks of the empire,
Yeah.
which is like
Yeah.
a cake deflating. They went from
Like
they were
flat in the
giant-
cupboard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just poof.
um,
Eggs are-
I love that man. Love him so much. Vote for him. He's going to be running for mayor of London next year.
and if he does,
The man speaks like 5 languages.
Like
He's
we said,
hilarious. He's
intelligent.
incredibly intelligent. Yeah, brilliantly intelligent, as they would say. Brilliant. But all that's so. September 1st of 1939, Germany gets it into their minds. Hey, let's go to Poland first, and sure enough, they did. Cut to 2 years. Well, almost 2 years later, just over a year and a half.
and they are just stomping through the Europe
Absolutely stomping. Everyone's heard the phrase blitzkrieg.
and Asia,
Yeah. Oh,
And
Japan is just ramrodding through
Asia,
China,
which is
Indonesia.
ridiculous, only considering the size of China, the amount of people they have, and this is before they were the military force they are now.
Correct. Yeah.
And saying military force, Chinese military, the only issue as a vet having fighting them would not be their technology. It's the fact that they have
A 1 million man standing army. That means that they can deploy anywhere in the world.
they have
within
billions
40
of people
hours.
that they could literally conscript. And
Yeah, that's not even including the conscripts. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It gets
They-
worse.
They have billions of people that they can conscript into the military, and even if they don't have knowledge of a weapon, a gun fired by a child is just as effective as a gun fired by an adult.
True.
So I mean, just mind blowing. Back then, they still had more people than Japan. Japan's an island.
What's the saying? Hot lead has right of way.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So cut to March 1941, March 11th. FDR signs into effect the Lend-Lease Act.
And for those of you across the nation, Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Yes, Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Delano. Don't say that though.
It sounds like a cookie, and I want one.
That sounds Italian.
It sounds delicious.
And you don't want to be Italian during the World War II. I'm just saying.
They kind of
for the war.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the war.
Like a pancake.
It was Germany and Italy had the Battle of the Atlantic.
Yep.
Italy and Germany was it the Greer incident
Yep.
that had us sign the shoot on sight, which is still standing of shoot on sight as an order that can be given.
Correct.
And that was the first time it was given was during World War II and the Battle of the Atlantic.
Yeah. So he enacts the Lend-Lease Act, which is something that, he can finally push through. And you know what? This is kind of the, fine, you won't let me join into this conflict that's taking place that's very, very, important.
Prevalent.
Yeah, it's terrible, the wires that are being received, the wires and cables that are being received from the British and other European allies.
Which is communications.
France is getting raffle stomped. But what he can finally push through, he finally finds a sort of compromise is this Lend-Lease Act, which is essentially him saying, fine, we ourselves cannot enter this conflict. However, we will subsidize you with material, oil, weapons, vehicles, ships, both land and air.
So
both sea and air.
Weaponry was considered a broad term during the Lend-Lease Act.
Yes.
And this is
on purpose.
This is how he got away with sending, because we were not allowed to send warships or anything specifically. But by saying we were going to send weaponry, that covers anything from handguns to warships.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he disguised a lot of the troop transports and warships and stuff like that by loading them up with grain and other food stuffs. Because by saying, we're just sending them food and aid and medical supplies.
Yeah.
They also have cannons.
Because we weren't allowed to send those types of vehicles over, because that would be considered an active part of the war.
Correct.
So Franklin D. Roosevelt and his cabinet were
brilliant guy.
Intelligent for doing what they did,
sneaky fella,
and how they went about it. Mm-hmm. Yes, they were deceiving a lot of the not the American people.
They had a good intention. They wanted to save lives. Yeah. They wanted to do what was right.
Which brings you to American politics now.
The exact inverse.
Yeah.
Stupid intention, worse application.
Yeah.
We had a whole conversation about this earlier that will make your eyes bleed. So
we'll
talk about it later.
That's the political or current events video.
Yeah. But you know what's kind of interesting? Stuff that stems from the shoot on sight or things that are still standing as capabilities. You know, with North Korea, we still have we're still technically at war.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not a.
That's why that's the DMZ.
Right. So it's not a at war status. It's a
Cold War.
It's a ceasefire, which means that war could resume at any time.
We are at a Cold War with South Korea.
North Korea. Yeah. South Korea's the good guys. No, they're good. They're good.
Give them half a chance.
So, Lend-Lease Act was fantastic. It really helped bolster the troops in many different ways. The vast majority of the aid, it equated to about at that time, $50 billion worth of aid in various means.
Give or take.
Right. Vast majority of it, about $30 billion, went to Great Britain and its European allies. Yeah, $31.4 billion. $11 billion went to Russia, and then I think
11.5 to Russia and 3.1 to Free France. Free France because part of France was still fighting for Germany at the time.
Yeah, but the revolution. If you're ever interested, you should see some of the weapons that we dropped to the French resistance. They are crazy. They are these one-shot, dinky little pistols that scare me. They make Saturday night specials look good.
They were a knockoff off of the German,
not the Luger.
Because
but they only fired one round.
Yeah, because the Luger was a
they were cheap and they made $1 billion of them.
Yeah, the Luger was a repeat action that jams notorious for jamming, and
I guess that's a good thing.
Well, for us, yes. Only neo-Nazis really fucking love the Luger because it's the German whatever. But that was what the fucking one-shot pistol was made of, because it was a barrel, it was a trigger, and it was a bolt action.
That's crazy.
It was just it was a barrel and a trigger and a hand grip, and that was it.
Today it would look like a novelty lighter. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was
definitely.
It
was a little fucking tiny thing.
Oof.
My daughter's pistol.
Right. But all that to say, that's March 11th, 1941. Come December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor. That's when the shit hit the proverbial fan. We then, as a nation, rose up
and joined the war
in anger, in absolute. We were
in unity.
We were incensed.
In unity.
For sure,
We
because
decided,
this was finally to get the other half who were holding us back from joining.
And this
to
is
finally get much like 9/11 got everyone up in arms.
Was our big step onto the world stage.
Well, so the Lend-Lease Act, so the Lend-Lease Act, the way it worked was, the way he managed to get it passed is, we're gonna lend this. We're essentially leasing this equipment. We're lending it to them in the hopes that they're gonna pay us back. But in all honesty, FDR at that point in time, from the very beginning,
wanted to join the war.
He absolutely wanted to join the war. In fact, he enacted it by going so far as to say, we're going to lend this out to them. We're going to lease this equipment, this material, this aid, and then they'll pay us back. But he absolutely had no intention of receiving payment for it. He had no intention of... He wanted to get in the fight from the beginning, like you had said earlier. And this is as close as he could get.
Which was helping our ally, or helping our soon-to-be allies.
I know I'm going to butcher this quote, but the famous quote, as he explained it to the American public, was, if your neighbor's house is on fire, you don't lend them your garden hose and say, hey, this was $15. I want my $15. You say, no, I want my garden hose back. So,
we don't care if the equipment's used, just give us the equipment back.
Right.
With no actual intention.
He didn't care about it.
Yeah, it was just...
He wanted to save lives. Absolutely awful. But so again, after the attack on Pearl Harbor, we sent the Marine Expeditionary Force over to Japan. And that was their primary theater of combat. And then we also had...
Which was the Philippines and Vietnam and Asia.
Yeah. So one of our biggest deploying points was in the Philippines. Yeah. So there we
That's where the Marines
started a campaign of what was called island hopping.
Yeah, that was the Marines' job out there. That's why the Marines are.
You want to talk about some scary fellas?
Yeah, they went out there, and that's where the Marines got their
very scary reputation.
Yeah,
very scary.
Was out there hopping from island to island, taking it back from the Japanese. And then the paratroopers, the Army, fought mainly in the Europes, and that's where the paratroopers got all their jumps and their name from, and their prestige as a Special Forces unit, which is fucking jumping. So the paratroopers did that. The tankers, they fucking major contribution.
Holy hell!
During the entirety of the war, and they were fighting superior tanks the entire battle.
You know, it's one of the jokes that the Germans used to tell about tank battles. One of our German tanks can take on 4 American tanks, but those bastards always have 5. It's true.
That was the tank battling tactic back then.
Because the thing is that we had Sherman tanks versus German Tiger tanks, T-32s.
Which were heavily armored.
They were heavy tanks versus our light to medium. Vast majority of British tanks were light to medium, whereas ours were majority medium.
The Tiger tanks didn't have the fuel efficiency that we
because
had.
they had so much armor on them.
So we were moving a lot further than they moved.
Faster.
But they waited for us to get there.
Our shells would bounce off.
Yeah.
It was rough.
They were heavily armored. Our Special Forces got a huge name there. They also...
The Frogmen.
Yep.
That's where the Navy SEALs first started. Before they were called SEALs.
That was the SEALs, Special Forces in the Army as well. The Air Force started with the...
they got their start kind of World War I, but they really didn't come into their Yeah, they didn't
They
come
made
into
their
their
name in World War II with their
P-51s, the
Mustangs.
P-51 Mustang.
Yeah, Mustangs.
There's a fighter plane right
And
there
that's
for you.
where a lot of the prestige from the military comes from World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll do a video.
Well,
because
there's a reason they call it the greatest generation.
Well, we're actually military buffs. I've served.
I'm kind of buff.
And he is obviously larger. No, but he has all military history and loves our fucking military so much that he knows a lot about it. So we'll do actually a video later on military history for each of the services.
Yeah, sure.
Because they did quite a bit.
I wonder if there's a favorite beer for each branch.
Definitely. Definitely.
So next up we have a very, in my opinion, American beer. Okay. So this is a Sam Adams Boston Lager. Few things come to mind more American than what else? The American Revolution. The Boston Tea Party. The good old state of Massachusetts. Some of our greatest technology and technologists, engineers, scientists come out of MIT, which is the Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
And Sam Adams being a signatory on
The Declaration of Independence. One of our founding fathers. Alongside, obviously, several others who signed the same Declaration of Independence.
As our researcher, I have to ask, is he just the name of the beer, or did he have a hand, or family have a hand in it?
He has absolutely
Nothing to do with beer.
112% nothing to do with this beer whatsoever.
Sad panda.
But, again, as a marketing strategy, good job. Yeah, that works.
Definitely.
America. So,
Sam Adams?
yeah. I'm going to give this a
Goddamn
sniff.
legend.
So it's not as sweet. I mean, again, these are beers that we've had many a time. This is not as sweet. It's a little drier smelling when it comes to that malt.
Drier tasting.
Yeah. But do you think it's a little bitter or no?
Not at all.
Yeah.
So
It's very smooth. It's also, in my opinion, it's a little spicy.
to me, it doesn't have spice. It's definitely a dry beer, in my opinion. And when you drink it, you take a sip of it, it leaves you wanting to have another sip of the beer.
That's clever. Clever girl.
Yeah, definitely. It's
Yeah.
but like you said, it's a smooth taste. This is actually my first time having a Boston Lager.
Previously for the
And as you can tell, it's a pretty clear. It's not as dark
yeah,
as the
I was
last
gonna
beer.
say it's not as clear, but it's also
No, it's not as amber as
I was gonna say it's not as dark.
as Fat Tire.
Correct. So where the Fat Tire was a 5.2% ABV, this is a flat 5%. So it's slightly less alcohol percentage.
This an IPA?
It is not.
What is it?
It is so for the Fat Tire, it was a amber lager / red ale. This is more along the styling of a Vienna ale, oddly enough.
What is
But
it?
not exactly. Vienna is
I know where
Is it in
Vienna
Italy?
is. But what is a Vienna ale?
so it's usually something that's a little bit spicier.
Which would be the pumpkin
yes,
spice?
heavily spiced.
Okay.
Which this is, but it's not exactly. And some of the purists that I was reading some of the reviews from agree to that fact that it's not exactly. It does make it. It's more unique. However, it's a lot thicker. It's more malty. If you drink a bunch of these, you won't feel bloated.
It has it's a heavy beer, yes.
Yeah, it's a heavy
But
beer.
I can see where you say it has the spice because you can.
It's a little zing.
You can feel it like pepper.
Yeah.
But it's not.
More
you
zest.
you feel it as a carbonation. But as you can see, this is a very lightly carbonated beer.
So the same thing is that Fat Tire. The bubbles are maybe a little bit larger, but they're not in high concentration.
Yeah, you have bigger bubbles, less of them, and yeah, it feels like pepper, does not taste like pepper. It feels like pepper, where you get the spice on your tongue.
It's a
But
sensation.
it's not from
Not a flavor.
It's not from the carbonation of the beer, because like we said, it's a heavy beer. You definitely feel it, but it doesn't. It's not going to make you gaseous.
Yeah. So going on off of the creator's notes, they do state that it's made with certain fruit flavors to a degree. So there's a bit of citrus in it, cherry. It's a little spicy, but it has a smooth finish, a very light cream-colored head to it, very thin head to it.
Well, I wouldn't call that cream.
Well,
eggshell.
I'm sorry, creamy.
Oh, I was like, I would call that more of an eggshell colored head.
Again,
But it also, I wouldn't call it a creamy head, because look how light that is.
it's the texture.
Eh,
Thin, smooth, velvety kind of.
latte-ish.
Oh no.
So
Tammy pumpkin spice lattes.
Sam Adams, latte head.
But how about this?
Yes.
It tastes good. Oh, but back to the ratings. So previously
Right.
for that fat tire, it was at a 3.6 out of 5. So that's a fairly decent review. This one was slightly higher with 3.74 out of 5. So this is again on beer.
Okay, yeah, and this was out of 5. We would do 10.
So
on
again,
that.
this was over 9,000 ratings, and I think it was 2,100 written reviews. So I like it, but the same consensus. I wouldn't barbecue while drinking this.
Oh no.
It's a hot day, and even now this is good.
Well,
When we're
no,
indoors, it's a little different.
No. I would do this with the chicken marinade.
I mean, but
Not-
while you're
not-
outside going through the process of barbecuing, would you want something a little lighter? Something
You
a
know,
little
I
more
would have
refreshing?
a lighter beer, but if I was served like a lemon chicken marinade, I would
Yeah.
definitely drink.
And
this
you know
with it.
why? And it's
But I
probably
would
because
not
of the
do that with
spice.
I would not
aspect.
do that with the fat tire. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
not do that with the fat
Yeah.
tire. The fat tire is straight.
They're
would
both
not
good.
drink. This is a. All right, so I find this to be a lighter beer than the fat tire.
Because this one had more caramel in it. So it was a little sweeter, it was a little thicker.
Oh, the fat tire, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This one's more, again, in that Vienna ale, it's got more fruits, it's got more spice. So
Well,
it
this
doesn't so
one-
much rely on sweet malts.
I think the fat tire definitely tasted more citrusy to me. That's what I got the sweetness from, was a very citrus, very nectar,
I got kinda-
very nectar taste to it.
Caramel, to me.
Well, that's where I got that, and this I get more of it's a dry
It's got a little zing.
bar taste to it. This kind
I
of
would order this at a bar.
Oh, definitely.
I would absolutely order a fat tire at a bar
Tell you
too.
about, well,
I'd probably have one of both.
If I was doing, I wouldn't say heavy drink. If I was doing heavier, I would definitely go with the Boston Lager. If I was doing light, fat tire.
Okay.
Because fat tire, I know I can have probably a few of those without feeling.
I get the feeling I feel full.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, the fat tire definitely fills you full.
Oh,
for me.
I was gonna say the Sam Adams. I feel.
Oh no, I'm opposite. I think the fat tire is definitely a heavier beer for me.
But they're both good.
Very, very
Both good.
delicious.
But again, I could bring this out on the porch.
Well, I was gonna say again, this would be, it's a drier beer, which every time I take a sip, I kind of want to continue drinking it only because it leaves my mouth cotton mouth.
Yeah.
Cotton
It-
mouth
it
comes
is a
to
little bit
mind
drier.
when I drink this.
You know, oddly enough, just random factoid. You know the phrase, there's no such thing as a free lunch? You know
Yeah.
where that originates?
Negative.
So, during the early 1900s, places where you would go to get, lunch or dinner or what have you, no, maybe it was even earlier than that. Maybe I'm thinking Gold Rush. But
Probably.
at least, somewhere around 100 years ago, they would serve lunch or foods that were heavily salted for free. They would give out free food.
Oh, preserved.
Lots of salt,
Yeah, that'd be preserved.
which then makes you want,
A beer.
and they would charge extra.
You want to know what?
That's There's no such thing as a free lunch, guys. You might get that free lunch, but you're gonna pay for something else. So from us folks here at Hyenas Den.
Well, before we even get our sign out, you gotta rate the beers.
That's true. My goodness. I know that I gave the ratings for what was present on Beer Advocate, but we work on a 10 scale versus a 5 scale.
Yeah. Because we drink a lot more beers.
This is true.
And well, there's only 2 of us versus 9,000.
True.
10,000.
True. That we're giving ratings. They're both good. They're very similar in a lot of aspects, in that they're both kind of that
I think the rating's gonna be
red
close.
ale.
But
Very
I
close.
honestly don't believe that mine and your rating are going to be on the same level.
You might be surprised. You might be surprised.
Alrighty, so with him saying that, I think I will go first
Go
this
for it.
episode. And I'm going to go ahead and give Fat Tire 6.5. Boston Lager, first time drinking, 7 points. Solid.
Okay.
7
so,
points.
you get a half-point distinction.
Half point distinction. Only because I don't believe in the in-betweens. If I had to, if I did believe in it, I'd give this a 6.8. That's how close they are.
That's
But-
razor thin.
Exactly. But I don't believe in that, so 6.5, 7.
I believe in it.
6.5, 7.
So again, I'm gonna rate them a little bit higher, just because I think there's a drinkability to them for me that I could drink several, and that means
Oh, well, that means
a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whereas I think I'm gonna agree with you, Fat Tire's getting a 7. And then the Sam Adams, just because of the more notes that you're getting out of it, it's a little bit spicier, which I love spicy.
The more
and you'll see why
availability.
come this weekend at Born Free.
Well, some more opportunities you will have
Just
to
more
drink the
flavor.
Sam Adams. Well, you can drink this at a bar. You can take it at a barbecue. And the Fat Tire, I do not believe there's a spot in the barbecue for it.
Sure.
And
The old barbecue test.
We love barbecues. We're
It's true.
You
It's
know,
true.
we run.
We've got 2 barbecues in the backyard and a smoker. So
That's what we run. That's what we do.
so 7 for the Fat Tire, which is a good solid score, man. I'm gonna give a 7.5 for the Sam Adams. So I'm only taking it up another half point.
Well,
But you know what this means, though, right?
they're
By score,
Sam Adams. is-
Germany won.
Oh, hold on. No, we have not had our video of Germany versus America, because
Yeah.
Germany is a dessert beer, and we have American chocolate ales.
That's true. Rock Brewery.
So
Holy
we
crap.
have not done a Germany versus American beer. So we
Like
need
for like.
we need to go to Rock Brewery. We need to grab a chocolate ale, probably in a growler, because they have very
I
good,
have a growler that needs to be filled.
they have very good chocolate ales there.
Oh.
And then we'll do Germany versus America.
Maybe we'll just do the video there.
And I think that's if they allow us to take it
They did last time.
in. To take in a foreign
true.
beer.
Foreign beer. Double foreign beer.
So we'll see what we can
But
do with that.
yeah.
We'll talk to Rock Brewer. We have a larger following now. Still don't think it's gonna work for us though.
No, probably not. But the polite thing is to ask.
Yeah.
Which Germany didn't do when they invaded fucking Poland.
Or France, or
Right?
Ukraine.
You
or,
knock first.
I mean, they did knock. It was just kind of hard knock.
True. They goose-stepped their way to...
Yeah. So that's what we have. Is I'm gonna go with his, which is a 7 and a 7.5.
Ah! I like that.
I'm gonna bump mine up,
Nice.
which is Fat Tire gets a 7, and Sam Adams gets a 7.5.
Yeah.
They're very drinkable. They're not as universal as some of the beers we had. Not as universal, but they are good beers.
Good. Solid beer. You wouldn't... if it were on the menu amongst several others, you wouldn't question yourself if you were to order it. You
Well,
know what
if
I mean?
I was gonna, after I ate a dinner, after I was done eating, I would not eat.
This is a relaxation beer.
Yeah, I would not drink this beer while I was eating. But after I was done eating, if we were sitting around the table with some friends,
definitely.
I would definitely order
a
one of
great
these beers
kickback
and
beer.
just sit there and have conversation. Yeah. So,
Very
Rain is dead. Tune in for the next episode.
There you go, folks. So next footage of us will be coming from Born Free, one of my favorite events. This will be my fourth or fifth.
I think it's your fifth because it's my third.
Yeah.
And I missed two.
Yeah. And so this will be this is Born Free 11. So this is the 11th year that they've been doing this. This will be the 5th year that I've gone, so that's a pretty solid track record. I know that I missed a year in between somewhere. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. We're going to be packing some of our own beers because beer is stupid expensive, and the line is somehow stupider. Yeah. But we're also going to be debuting or surprise showing of our favorite beers.
Well, I mean, for me, it's not so much of a surprise.
Mine's a surprise.
I'll take some surprise beers. I'm not going to take my favorite beer. I'm not going to take my favorite beer. I'm going to take some beers that I like.
But here's something I found. So here's your weather forecast.